All right, we have a live stream. And Alan was making jazz hands. Good times. All right, Portia, you want to take it away? You're muted at the moment, Portia.
Oh, sure. Am I going first?
Just in terms of driving, moderating the conversation.
Okay. Awesome. So the topics we're going to go over today would be the go-ipfs. David will have a chance to give us a rundown of what happened last week. Alan will introduce his amazing web UI, which he released Friday night. That was pretty exciting. I'm just going to have a conversation. It's not going to be too long about maybe using dapps as opposed to Google Drive. And Steve is going to talk about roadmaps and annual AKRS. So David, can you take it away, please?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
For volunteering to be the note taker. I saw you adding a name. So I'll just very quickly share my screen so that like you all see what I see. By the way, how is my connection? Is it good? Like Zoom has been giving trouble for me today. Is it kind of like flaky?
Your audio is pretty crunchy.
My audio is pretty crunchy. Okay, so what about this? Like if someone else goes first, and I'll try to fix this. Sounds good.
Alan, do you think you can hop in and talk about your stuff?
Yeah, sure thing. Okay,
sorry.
so if that's okay, first of all, it is not my web UI.
Oh, sorry about that.
I did do work on it, but it is the good work of Ollie, Lidl, Diogo, Henrique, and Agatha, and it is super rad. I did the minimal amount of effort by putting it in JS IPFS and releasing it as soon as possible because it's so good. So let me just quickly share my screen and I'll show you. Cool. Can you all see things? Yes?
Yes.
Good. Rad. So there is a new release of JS IPFS, a release candidate. So it's almost shipped, but you can download it now. You can npm install JS IPFS at like this, npm IPFS at 0.33.0-rc.1. And you should probably do that globally if you're going to do this. But that will install you the brand new IPFS that will be coming out hopefully this week. And in that next release, it has the brand new web UI, and you should just be able to start up your JS IPFS daemon like this. And in that, we have a new line which tells you where the web UI is. So just to prove to you that we're running this new version, we can print out the version. Cool. And then we should just be able to fire up. Oh, let me copy that URL. And then if I fire up Chrome or something, I should just be able to start up the web UI. Oh, cool. Okay, so this is interesting. We got to fix this bit, but because the JS IPFS web UI runs on the API runs on 5002, but essentially you should just get your web UI straight away. Cool. Here it is, the status page. Ollie has demoed this many times before, and he would probably be better to take you through this, but there's status, there's files, you can look at GIFs and things, you can explore the Merkle forest, you can look at protobufs, your regular kind of Unix FS files, you can look at all sorts of Git things, you can look at the peers that you're currently connected to, and they're shown on a map, which is cool. They kind of pop up. And you can also edit the settings for your node. and it's all there and it's all ready for you to look at. If you'd like to, so if we click through to here, so here we go. Is it web UI here? Here we go. So I guess if there are any, if you spot any problems with it, then take a look at the issues list for the web UI, see if they're already there. If it's not, then please open an issue. But basically, it would be cool to get everyone trying it out, testing out the new release, checking that web UI is working, because then when we do come to properly release it in a few days' time, we can maybe get some fixes in before that happens. So that's cool. I think that's just about all I got to say. Would anyone like to ask me questions? Hello, Ollie.
Not a question so much as an addendum. I would like to run some usability tests on the new web UI so that we have some structured feedback for the next round of improvements. And I'm looking for volunteers. You don't all have to shout now, but I see Molly has her hand up, which I assume is volunteering. Thank you very much. And Portia and Eric and anyone else. I can't see all the faces, and Ian. It would be much easier if you would commit to that on a GitHub issue that I will drop in the chat. Thank you very much.
So there's a question in the chat about the web UI being dependent on the latest JS IPFS, and I think the answer is no, it's not. You can just go to that hash and or that URL on the gateway, or webui.ipfs.io, and you can point it at your Go IPFS node, and it will just work. So yeah. Any other questions? Cool. It is awesome, right?
Super cool.
Cool. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Portia, you're muted again. It's tricky.
I hope this is not going to be an ongoing problem for me. So thank you very much, Alan. David, are you ready to? Is your sound in order, or shall we continue? I don't
see a David.
David, yeah, I don't see him. So I will, what I'm presenting is going to be probably 2 minutes. It's just more of an opening of a conversation. And so last month I was part of ETH Berlin. And one of the goals of ETH Berlin was to dog food some of the products that they were creating or using. In other words, using more dapps, like using, as opposed to using something like a Google Drive or something like a Slack, like being able to incorporate dapps more into their workflow. And I just wanted to start a conversation. Is that something that we think that we can start doing now? What I mean now, I mean using applications such as Status, using applications such as Graphite, I believe. And yeah.
I think something that might be useful, or I guess I'm raising a hand. Terry was also raising a hand. Terry, you want to go first?
Okay.
No? Okay. Alan's also raising a hand.
Awesome.
So I think my feedback on this would be, that sounds cool and it sounds
And Molly is gone.
Hello?
I think we did possibly lose Molly.
But I see David.
Can I ask a question if we're going to stay on this agenda item? Well, I wasn't sure if we were, given that David is now back, maybe? I don't know.
I think we should continue discussing this
Hello?
item as we're currently doing that. Yeah.
Yes. What is, can we get a little more context? I don't actually know any of the apps that are being referenced. Oh, when you say dapps, are you talking about distributed apps? I'm sorry. Okay, now it's all clear to me. Apologies, ignore.
Do you want to do Terry and then Alan? Terry, did you already go? Sorry, I fall off. Terry, go ahead, and then Alan.
Sure. So I don't know who was just speaking, but I have the same question. Like the specific apps that Portia just mentioned are ones that I'm not familiar with. If we're talking about using decentralized apps in general, instead of tools that the broader world are familiar with, I'd want to understand more about who's using those tools right now. A lot of decentralized stuff, this is me, I was hired to be the voice of the beginner. A lot of the decentralized stuff comes across as super intimidating to people who aren't already on it. So depending what the audience is, the people who need to use this tool have the skills they need to use it, or can we make it really easy to onboard? And are we losing benefits in terms of working with existing systems, working with systems that exist? So I don't know, for example, whether we're talking about tools that would be used for just protocol employees, or what the closest equivalent to the word employees as it applies to protocol, or for the broader community, something like a Google Drive that people are very familiar with, that has a lot of adoption. I would hesitate more to replace with something than I would something that's more obscure just for the people who are developing on this system or whatever. But I don't have enough background to say more than that.
Alan?
Yeah, in general, I'm super pro dog fooding everything we can. So we did once try to use PeerPad for the HackPad for the JS core dev meetups, and it wasn't quite ready yet. So what I'd say is if we do this, then there needs to be an offline test before we get 25 people on a call and it crashes. But yeah, using distributed apps, using apps that are built on top of IPFS as well, I'd be super pro doing all of that. So yeah, in general, cool.
I missed a lot of that conversation, but I think that would be even a good motivation, just reiterating what Alan said, just trying to build apps on top of IPFS that we can actually use, or we can just like demo on a smaller scale. Like it doesn't have to be something that we change overnight, like the next week there'll be no more Zoom, but it'll be something where we can get people to, we can even have like hackathons to build stuff like replacements to Google Drive and such. Just have a small sector of people test it out and just like keep that conversation going and keep people creating stuff that will in the near future replace some of the decentralized apps that we're using now.
Myself, then Adine, then Matt. I think we're, sorry for falling off a second ago. I think we're all excited about the idea of using decentralized apps. I think PeerPad is literally being built on top of some of the, the technology in IPFS that we're super excited about, but we want to understand what the benefits would be for actually being able to work together as a community and effectively, host this group of people openly. So maybe let's take more of this conversation offline into a GitHub issue or something that's more of a fleshed out proposal. I want to point to Matt's example of thinking, you have an amazing example up. I believe it's either on IPFS/IPFS or IPFS/community, which documents our thought around using Discussify. It's like, here's the problem, here are all the constraints, the things you have to think about, here are the various solutions we're looking into. It is like picture perfect. Let's use that as a model for the way that we communicate what other tools we might want to adopt, and explain it in terms of cost benefits. I don't know if like discussing it openly without being able to understand and reference that is the most effective way to push forward on that conversation. So let's use that as a model. That's my proposal. Adine, you are next, then Matt, then David.
So basic +1 to what Molly said, but also I think it'd be really helpful to be able to sort of dog food and utilize like 1 or 2 things built on IPFS so we can sort of see how it's see how it's progressing and monitor it like more, I guess, intimately. But deciding exactly which things we feel the most need for, or which kinds of applications will help us out the most, is something we can start putting together like an issue on.
Awesome. Okay. Anyone else?
I hadn't raised any.
Okay, Matt.
No, just echoing what people have already said.
Is it better?
Go on.
Okay. I have a screenshot of like the speed of my Wi-Fi. It seems that my 5-year laptop, my 5-year 4-core 16 gigs of RAM laptop is not good enough for Zoom. Sorry about that. My normal laptop broke and it's repairing. Let me know if like my video, or I can try to kill my video. If it's unbearable. Like can take on the like doing the like quick recap for me, if that would be fine. Maybe Eric could take on. I don't know if you had the time to check my summary. You got it posted this morning, European morning.
I haven't seen it yet. I mean, I saw the email, but I can check it right now.
I can. Okay. So
I can screen share. There we go. It can be a team effort.
Okay.
Okay. Hack week summary. Minimize all my other windows. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Huzzah.
It's really big right now.
I don't know how to make it smaller. We didn't figure out how to do that.
Command 0.
Never mind. I figured it out. Cool. Can people still see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Eric, you want to talk over this?
Sure. Let me see if I can summarize. We had a week in London, the entire Go, IPFS, IPLD, and libp2p teams. I say entire, but actually some people couldn't make it. It was really fruitful, and I think from the beginning on Monday, Molly and David presented what were their sort of best, the best understanding we currently have of PL's goals for IPFS in general, and that formed the basis of a fantastic discussion that continued throughout the week, actually, of refining OKRs. Well, first of sort of bucketing sets of features that were appropriate for those overall goals, for those known goals, and then refining our OKRs and breaking into teams to address those OKRs. So in kind of to summarize, we left the week with a much better focus on actually the sort of short and medium term goals for IPFS that coincide with broader PL goals, not just for IPFS, but for everything that PL is doing. And we have much better clarity as a team what each of us individually is going to be working on. And we broke into sub-teams so that we can address priorities as a smaller group instead of trying to organize across the entire all the teams. This was especially acute, I think, on the Go IPFS side, or especially important on the Go IPFS side. IPLD and libp2p, because they were smaller teams, I think already had some better understanding of their priorities and how they were going to work to achieve. And then there was just, I thought, an extraordinary amount of knowledge transfer. And I know that being relatively new to the project, I learned a lot and felt much more caught up at the end of the week than I had started. And then Show Me What You Got was a big theme on Thursday, where people demoed and discussed basically the outcomes of conversations or work that they had done during the week. That was actually really fruitful. So I don't know if there's more to say. Molly and David, if you guys have other stuff. There's this. There was a IPFS meetup at Cloudflare, which was actually super fun and neat. Because, Cloudflare is one of, sort of a willing to host the meetup, and of course also willing to host IPFS on their network, a big supporter of IPFS. And that was really interesting. And a lot of people gave some great talks, Ollie and Alan. Stephen did a good extemporaneous talk on IPLD when his presentation went awry, and I actually thought he pulled it off. Juan demoed chess, a DApp chess game that he had developed using the JavaScript libraries for IPFS. That was awesome, considering that he had started it at the beginning, sort of just sitting there in a chair at the beginning of the meetup, or not even at the beginning of the meetup, at the beginning of the presentations, and at the end of them, he was ready to show it, and it actually worked. I thought that was awesome. And David kind of jumped in and tried to ruin his presentation by playing chess against him.
Not true. So by the way, I switched to my iPad. I hope like this works better. It does, like, I do hear you better. So in fact, we have diagnosed that like a 4 or 5 year laptop with 4 cores and 16 gigs of RAM is not enough to run Zoom. So yeah, thank you for the summary, Eric. I think you pretty much like went through all of the things. I didn't try to ruin Juan's presentation. I was augmenting it by saying it also works on mobile.
It did too. I was actually very impressed that you were able to jump in. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. So
Juan was like, "Don't do it, don't do it," and David he couldn't be stopped.
Exactly. And so yeah, like you can see links to the videos on the doc. We are like right now, those are the raw videos, so they haven't been trimmed, they haven't been polished, the sound hasn't been like reviewed, so like they are watchable. Like I have watched them, but like we expect to have soon a version that we'll publish to YouTube, that then we'll create a playlist that everyone can like reference to everyone else, so that they can watch. Same thing for the videos from the meetup. Those we don't have access to the raw versions right now. Once they are ready, we'll publish them as well through the regular channel. So like just put it on YouTube, perhaps announce on Twitter, announce on IRC. But yeah, like like go through the recap. Like if you have questions or if you have questions now, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer.
Yeah, I would say just maybe one other thing is I think we had on Friday, we had a really interesting, I thought it was interesting. It was a retrospective where people had sort of, I mean, it was obvious that we would do it, but actually interesting things came out of what people got out of the week. Not just exactly what I got, but some other things too. And also some conclusions about the value of it and when we might want to do it again. And sort of the time scales at which it becomes important to sort of resync and be able to talk to each other synchronously for a good bit of time. I thought were interesting outcomes of the week.
Yeah,
any other questions, comments?
Alan recommends Viso's talk, definitely. Viso was another person that pulled an amazing feat of accepting to give a talk on Gossip Sub Sunday, and then decided that he was going to use his own language that he created to create the simulations that he was going to run to then create a visualization that he had to create a library to bind to some other graphics library to his own language so that he could like create a visualization. And he managed to do that from Sunday to Monday. And the rest was just like polish.
Wow.
Yeah, Viso is a god. So I think Adam raised his hand. Sorry, Adam, I didn't want to talk over you.
No worries. I was just wondering, because I wasn't with you guys over there, how those of us that are working on things that are not explicitly touching the OKRs should, work with the rest of the team so that we're not, sort of distracting from the sort of the main thrust of development, but still getting done what we need to get done, right? Whether it's the stuff that, whether it's things like, making gossip stuff better, or, other ways of like this stuff I've been working on in terms of, group-based naming systems and that sort of thing.
I think, yeah, I think like your question has a lot more context that like some people here might not have. And if I understand your question correctly, is given that like the OKRs were set by the end of next quarter, by the end of the last quarter, or that they were kind of like go-ipfs specific OKRs were kind of like reiterated right now because we had this opportunity to get everyone together. How does like different working groups communicate the needs that they have to other teams? And the answer to that is there is not a good enough channel, and perhaps we might not want to have to alter the OKRs while the quarter is already happening. If there is a need from a working group and that need was not captured or not received by the other working group in time, then it means like that need might just have to be like a responsibility of the working group. That, sorry, I'm using the word need too many times, but I'm saying like specifically the dynamic data and capabilities working group, if they need something from go-ipfs, they might have a key result or an objective that requires something from the go-ipfs implementation, but they should be the ones owning it and making sure that the team can like support and help drive it through. One of the things I think it's important to highlight, and it's one of the notes that got recorded on the Show Me What You Got session from the Hack Week, is that it is important to understand that like the OKRs only account for 60% of the work that we plan for the quarter. We always like reserve like a bucket of 40% time, and of course like this 60-40 number is like really it's a little bit arbitrary. At the same time, it's really hard to say, oh, have we just allocated 60% time, or have we allocated 80% time, which we believe we are going to get done in 60. But the idea is there is like two ways to track work, to track progress. One is through OKRs, which is the thing that you communicate to the whole org, to the thing that like people can use to rely on to check in progress at the middle of the quarter, etc. And then there is the retrospective at the end of the quarter, where people get a chance to describe, like tell others how they spend their 40% time, either by putting fires out or by hacking on something new, sparking in a new project, etc. And so on. The retrospective is where everyone gets a chance for the humble brags, right? Like, oh, I spent a little bit of time on this and now this is possible. Or I worked with a dynamic data working group and I added this extra feature that was not planned at all for go-ipfs. And so use that to your own benefit and like to kind of like try to see if people are available or not. Like it might happen that the things that are on the OKRs are so much more important and they have so much more work there that like it was not like it was an unknown in the beginning of the quarter. But it might happen that like you actually find some availability or some way to align both what we need and what the team is working on already and yield the result that you need to like progress with your work. But ideally for next quarter, it is good to have all of these discussions. And one of the things that the project working group wants to create for this quarter is really this channel between working groups to make it more obvious, to make sure that like the working groups can communicate to each other like what they are looking for next quarter, what they need in order to succeed, etc.
So we're out of time. We're over time by 2 minutes. Eric, did you have something that was related to this?
I can just say quickly, if you have questions about priorities for the go-ipfs group, definitely get in contact with me, or you can jump into our weekly, which is coming up here in 30 minutes. And the same thing I would say for the P2P, you can contact Mike and ask him what's going on there. So if you want to sort of review or you have stuff that you feel like, oh, it's important for me to coordinate with those groups, definitely, absolutely feel free to contact me. It goes for anyone. That's it.
I know that Steve also had an agenda item for today. Steve, can we move that to next week since we're running over time, or do you have a short version?
We can, absolutely. And actually, maybe Molly, if you have 5 minutes after this call, I'd love to just connect on something really quick, but yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Perfect, yeah, let's sync up. And there were 2 announcements in the notes that were both great from Hector, we have a Pinbot upgrade on Twitter, and from Lidl, Brave announced its first release of a Chromium-based version, and Companion works perfectly. So that's both awesome. Great work, everyone. Any final things before we sign off? I'm seeing lots of thumbs up. Good work. Y'all are great.
Yay.
Alan, did you have it? No, you're good. You're just making faces. Awesome.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. See you all in other meetings.